Well, first off, the funeral of late Minister in the Presidency, Jackson Mthembu, will be held in his hometown in Mpumalanga today. President Ramaphosa has accorded Mthembu an official Category 1 funeral. The minister passing away on Thursday from COVID-19 related complications. He was 62 years old. My colleague, eNCA Thulasizwe Simelane, joining us from the Roman Catholic Church in Mpumalanga. And Thulasizwe, morning to you. The rain beginning to come down where you are as well, and I imagine preparations very much underway for proceedings to start, I understand, at 9 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, absolutely, Gareth. Perhaps appropriate, at least symbolically, that it would start off with a bit of a drizzle here in Mpumalanga this morning in the township of Akaville, what with so many tears being shed by so many people who have lost many loved ones, and South Africans also mourning the passing of Minister Jackson Mthembu. A cloud about as well in the skies here in Mpumalanga, perhaps also symbolizing just how gloomy the mood really is nationally, and for many people who have lost so much in the past year. It's been a torrid time for South Africans. So preparations underway for the official Category 1 funeral of the late Jackson Mthembu. This is a category of funeral that is reserved for serving ministers and other holders of public office, such as, you know, the National Assembly Speaker and people such of that caliber and that level within South African society. It will be a three-part funeral service that will start with a prayer at the home of the late Jackson Mthembu, which is a stone's throw away from where we are. It's really not far. It's walking distance from here. And Mpumalanga, I'll be talking to him in just a moment. Then there'll be a service that will be taking place here at the Millennium Hall, which is not far from the Sacred Heart Roman Catholic Church, somewhere in the background there. You will see it there in the distant background there, Gareth. And after this, it will be to the Pretoria Memorial Cemetery, which really is where Jackson Mthembu's journey on earth will end, with many South Africans celebrating his life. It's really been an outpouring of condolences since his passing, and reading about his life, you know, in preparation for this broadcast, Gareth. What do you say about Jackson Mthembu? What do you say? He has written his chapter of South African history. He has stepped up and written his part into South African history. There are so many roles that he played in shaping South African history, from humble beginnings, humble roots within this area previously known as Witbank. And I'm from around here in Mpumalanga, and some of the names of places where he grew up I'm very familiar with. Kromkrans is one of those reserves, rural reserves within Mpumalanga between Hendrina and Carolina, which is where he really was shaped and formed in the early years, having been born here in Mpumalanga, and he has come full circle to rest in the place where he was born. A man who shared with South Africa not only his leadership and his contribution to South Africa, but also was open about some of the difficulties and challenges that he faces. And one imagines what the family must be going through at this moment as they prepare to say goodbye to Jackson Mthembu. Also under very trying circumstances, with all the curtailments that come with the COVID-19 safety protocols. As you see, all of us masked up, there'll be sanitization, and everything is really curtailed, Gareth, to make sure that this doesn't become a spreader event. So let me talk to eNCA's Mpumalanga, who is outside Jackson Mthembu's home, a man who decided that he was going to remain rooted within the community of Akaville Township here in Mpumalanga. And Mpumalanga, I can only imagine what it must be like outside the family home there. In the last few days, there was a hive of activity also being done within the safety of the current protocols, right? Because people were only really driving up and then dropping off flowers over the past few days. But my goodness, if the family had any doubt what Jackson Mthembu meant to his comrades and fellow compatriots in South Africa, those doubts would have been settled in the last few days.
Indeed, and they've told us that they are very grateful for the support and the messages of support and condolences. They've made them stronger. Yesterday I spoke to Jackson Mthembu's brother, Michael. He told me that without the messages of support, condolences and tributes that have been coming through, they wouldn't have been able to stand at this moment. I can tell you, Thulas, there is a saying along the lines that in the end, it all goes back to the beginning. It is the case for Jackson Mthembu. This is where it began. This is where it will end today. This is where his political life and activism was shaped. And it's not surprising that he will be laid to rest here among his own people that he lived and struggled with. I'm going to ask my colleague Linge Ndabambi to show you what is happening in the background. There is not much of some activity, but there is an old family member here who's sitting outside the house there, I think by the veranda. He's wearing a white shirt. That old man, I just spoke to him now, and I asked him how are they feeling as the family, and he told me that it's a very emotional day today, and you can see that, he is really struggling to accept that today is the day they will lay their own to rest. Today is the day Jackson Mthembu will depart forever. You can tell that it's very emotional for the family. I saw other family members, they are still busy inside the house there. It's really sad to see that this is the day that Jackson Mthembu will be laid to rest, particularly because family members have told us that they were really not expecting that he will pass on. They were expecting that he will pull through. This is a man who has been the face of government communication and messaging when it comes to COVID-19. He will always end those government briefings, the interministerial committee briefings, the National Coronavirus Command Council briefings, by reminding South Africans to adhere to strict COVID-19 protocols and regulations. So family members say they are really devastated. But also what is adding to that is the fact that this coronavirus or COVID-19 is so inhumane to such an extent that the family, not only of Jackson Mthembu, many families have been unable to send their loved ones with dignity and respect in line with their traditions and protocols. I'm trying to step out of this shot to see what is happening in the background. We see some family members are consulting inside there as preparations are well underway for the funeral, which is set to start at 9 a.m. So what we understand from family members is that the coffin will come through, but the body of Jackson Mthembu will not enter the house in line with COVID-19 restrictions and protocols. There will be a drive-through here by his home, and then there will be a stop. There will be a family prayer session. After that, the entourage will proceed to where you are, Thulasizwe Simelane. It's really sad because they won't even get the chance to view the body of their loved one. But that has been the case for many South Africans and many people around the world. It talks to the issue of how cruel this disease is, Thulasizwe.
So that's how it's looking from this side, Gareth, in eMalahleni, as we continue to build up to the funeral service of the late Jackson Mthembu. It's all scheduled to really get underway in terms of the funeral service at 9 a.m.
Malani, Thulasizwe, thank you to you, and Siphamandla Goge, as well as Thulasizwe very rightly puts, the rain coming down almost befitting of a man of Jackson Mthembu's stature, and the sadness that he leaves as he departs after suffering from COVID-19 and succumbing to those symptoms as well. We're back to both Siphamandla later, as I'm sure we're going to see many community members coming out, obviously observing social distancing and all the protocols, and as Thulasizwe says, back to that church later in the morning. All set to get underway 9 a.m. this morning. Thulas quite right. It'll be live here on eNCA and also be live streamed on our website, that being eNCA.com.